Hello again. I got FSD 5.1.3 the other day and decided to take it out for a drive. I'm going to do things a little differently this time, I decided. I'm just going to show you every turn. I feel bad sometimes that all I show you are the areas it has troubles with or that are challenges. But this version is so smooth, I thought that maybe by showing you every turn it did, whether it was eventful or not, that we might get a better idea of how smooth this is. For example, these first two turns, that first turn was perfect and smooth, and this one was much more perfect and smooth. I've had past versions stop there, go into off the road, much better. So this turn here is blind to the right. I don't understand why it doesn't go up further before it stops. There isn't a white line there, I don't think, but if there was, maybe it could just remember where the creep line was last time and go to that next time and save us all a little bit of time. But it eases gently forward until it can clear, and then it goes. And once again, very human-like and very smooth. You're going to, if you haven't tried 5 yet, you're going to be very impressed with how smooth it is. Here we are again. It's noticeable. It's not one of those things that you're going, well, maybe. No, this is definitely very human-like and noticeable. They've nailed it. This is done. You can put this away. This turn here we've had problems with before. Not recently. It's made the turns, but it always hasn't been comfortable. This just glided right through it. I've had it stop there before. I've had it go off the road there before. But like I said, it's been doing it okay lately. But that time it was just smooth as silk. Up here, again, this turn is very smooth, but it did something weird here. As soon as it made the turn, it just sat there, and it didn't accelerate. I eventually had to nudge it along because there was somebody behind me. Otherwise, I would have let it see how long it took. I put this little segment in here just to let you know that even though it's been handling these curves pretty well for the last 2 or 3 versions, it's always made my wife uncomfortable. It hasn't been unsafe, it just hasn't been smooth. Silky smooth now. I mean, it just really silky smooth. This is a right-hand turn onto a high-speed highway where the speed limit's 60 and most of the traffic goes 66, and again, it just pulls out. The acceleration was fine, it just did everything good. We got off the freeway here. This is one of my pet peeves. You can see the white line up there. It's probably 10 feet behind the white line. I don't know why it does this. Just go to the white line and stop, instead of stopping at the stop sign and then stopping at the white line. Why would I stall that time? Again, eased forward till it could see to the right, and then it moved forward. Now, I took 511 out the other day, and it did something strange here on this turn. It really slowed way down, embarrassingly slow, to where it would have irritated people behind me. But today with 513, it didn't do that at all. Those of you who watched my videos may recall that back in version 3.4 and previous, it would see this on-ramp as a 35-mile-an-hour road. Then in 4.3, it actually fixed it and treated it like an on-ramp. Well, we're back to 513 here, and it's reverted again. This turn up here is our Achilles heel. We have to make a left. It's had problems before setting up for it. It set up for it correctly this time, maybe because it was trying to get around this left truck. It's often slowed down too much in the freeway. It didn't do that here. It waited till it got into the exit ramp. But this is a 2-lane median. In 3.4, it would kind of mess that up most of the time, but in 4.3, they had fixed it. It would honor the double yellow line, and it would go through it perfectly all 3 times. The issue seemed completely fixed to me. Well, we have a total regression here. It totally ignored the double yellow lines, and I had to intervene. Here we are just making a right turn on a country road. There was not traffic either way, but it'll just give you an eye. We've had issues in the past where at empty intersections like that, it would just sit and think for long periods of time. In fact, I ended my last video with 2 instances of that, where it just sat there and sat there and sat there, and I had to take over both times. Well, it handled it fine here, and it handled those same intersections fine on the way home as well. Here we're back to that median with the double lanes, but we're making a left this time. and it goes and handles it just perfectly. Nothing to complain about there. It accelerated well and went. This one's a strange one. We've never had this issue before. It's always made this turn, but look, it just blows right by it. And I'll give you a spoiler, it does it again later. Every time I tried it today, it blew right by that turn. I have no idea why. Here we are in an old section of the road that it used to make efforts to leave and drive on the shoulder. That was fixed in 4.3, and it continues to be fixed in 5.1.3. We're coming up on a left turn here. It's one lane of traffic from the left and two from the right. It's hard to tell that it's two from the right, and that will be more important later on this turn. It finds a gap and it goes. Notice it does swing a little bit over into the right lane when it makes that turn. That'll become relevant later when we make that same turn again. Here we are, and I have it doing a U-turn. There's not much of an off-ramp here, notice, but notice how slow it slows down on the freeway. Now, there was nobody behind me, but it was 12 miles an hour before it got my butt off the freeway. What it should have done was driven up here into the median so that it could have gotten off the freeway faster and then parked itself here and waited for a clearing for the traffic coming from the right. It did not do that, but like I said, it wasn't dangerous. There wasn't traffic behind me, and it was able to complete the U-turn perfectly. Here we are at that turn again, and here it is blowing right by it. It's never done that before. I don't know what's changed, but definitely a regression. And here's that left again with one traffic lane coming from the left and two from the right. Now, I had forgotten that there was two from the right, or I had a hard time judging, because in a minute it's going to make a turn, but there was a car coming, so I intervened because we would have hit the car had there only been one lane. But there were two lanes, and had it stayed in the left lane, and remember the last time it did this, it swerved over into the right lane a little bit, but had it stayed in the left lane, it would have made the turn just fine. But it would have been very scary and more trusting than I am at this point. Yeah, there I go. I intervene. There's that car that it would have hit, and I take over just because I didn't feel comfortable with that. Okay, this is another left turn, but this time it's using that median that has two lanes with a double yellow line. Remember that coming from the other direction? Well, it could have made the turn just fine, except that it was cutting through the other lane, and you can't be doing that. So I aborted the situation and took over. Here we are at the bottom of that exit ramp again. I told you I'd show you every turn. We're still 10 feet back from the white line, but it does make the turn nice and smooth and very human-like. Again, we get on up here on the freeway. And like I said, it slowed way down on 511 for this turn. It did it several times, actually. But today, look, it's not freaking from the guy coming from the right. It would have in the old days, and it cut in front of this guy coming straight at us. But there was plenty of room, and it did it smoothly and comfortably. But again, it took the entry ramp at 35 miles an hour right until it got onto the freeway. Here we are going again for that left turn. And it's setting up for it, which is great. It didn't used to do that. And now it's moving over before it slows down significantly. Again, great. But watch this. This is really interesting. Instead of taking our place in the median on the other side of the yellow lines like it should have, it waited for that truck. It saw his blinker. And I guess, I don't know why it stopped. It knew he was going to turn and gave him the right of way, but then it completely ignored the double yellow lines, and I had to take over again. Well, here we go again. This is interesting. I wish I had not intervened here. As you'll see, I do intervene, but we've got a lot going on here. We've got a lot of traffic coming from the left. We have traffic from the right that's going to make left turns into the median. We have traffic stacking up on the far side of the highway over there that also wants to use the median. I think here pretty quickly the car tries to go, and I decided it didn't have enough time. Watch clearly, I wish I'd had the display expanded. Yeah, that would have been tight, but it might have made it over there. I really wish I'd let it try, because just to see how it would handle all this. Who has the priority here? I mean, I assume the highest priority is the people on the highway. The second highest priority is probably those in the median, and the lowest priority is those waiting to get into the median. But it was a complicated situation. I was really unsure what to do. Should I have let that guy go, or should I have pulled next to him while he was waiting to turn left? I decided to go once I knew this guy was going to clear the double yellow lines and get in his lane, and then I went, even though that other guy had been there a long time, because I felt because I was in the median, I had the right of way. I really wish I'd let FSD do that. It would have been curious to see how it handled it. Well, you might have been able to tell from my voice that I'm recovering from a 5 or 6 day unpleasant bout with COVID. So that amount of driving wore me out, and I decided to take it home. Well, one thing I didn't mention, and I should, is that the speed control issues are still there. I got passed more than once because I was letting the car drive at the speed it wanted, and it was several miles an hour, if not more, underneath the speed limit and way below the flow of traffic. So those issues still remain. So what have we got? Well, first thing, this thing is really smooth and human-like. They've got that in the bag, folks. I don't see any need for improvement in that area at all. What was better? Well, it seems to be setting up for that left turn into the 2-lane median better than it has before. It often in the past would wait until the last second and just dive over, and that was not only uncomfortable, it could be dangerous, and was one time. As mentioned before, the last 2 turns of my last drive with 4.3, it came up to the intersections on these empty country roads and just took a nap and would not make a decision. I didn't see any tendency towards that at all this time, and I've encountered the same exact situation and the same turns on the way home, and it handled them just fine. The regressions, well, sadly and very disappointingly, because I was so thrilled that 4.3 had handled these correctly, it's messing up the 2-lane medians again. I don't know why that's a regression. It's almost like they 5 times the variables in this. Maybe they trained it on a different thread of model, more aligned with the old 3.4 model than the 4.3 model. But 4.3 had these fixed. They're not fixed now, sadly. And we've got the new one where it just blew by that turn every time we went by it. It's never done that before. So I'd like to conclude with a message to Tesla. If you guys are seeing these videos, please let me know, because this is not worth my time to make these videos for the number of views I get, but I would gladly do it if they're helpful in making FSD better. I would also suggest that you folks bring an ADAS driver out here if you don't have one. And to that point, I'll show you the map where these locations I'm having problems with are. I didn't have video of it, but 511 had a regression in these roundabouts here, and they're challenging just on themselves depending on what kind of traffic's coming in and out of them. I've sometimes had problems in this area, and this whole highway here is what's covered in this video here. Thank you folks for watching. Until next time, take care of yourselves.